the second try. Hello, everybody. This is Sasha. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here, and we're going to be talking about a topic that I'm super passionate about. And what better way to do it than with Erin, who is an intimacy, holistic intimacy coach, and also an intuitive reader. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about tarot and love and all the good stuff.
Yeah. So usually when people do a tarot reading, one of the main questions that people have is love. Right? Like they always want to
Oh,
know
yeah.
about their love life. It's usually love and work. They are the two, if you could summarize readings, they are the two most famous ones.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I specialize in love readings and helping people navigate their love life, when love is coming in, what's going on with their partners and like things like that. That's kind of like my jam, my specialty. And yeah, it is one of the main things. It's either that or when am I gonna get money? What's going on in my career?
Yeah.
So those are usually the two questions that I get, but I specialize in the romance department because I just find it to be a really it's like an unending quest of knowledge.
Yeah.
Love is it's so unending.
It is. So, Erin and I are colleagues. We graduated from the same Institute of Integrated Sexuality, and we are both super passionate about tarot. We were just discussing how when we start talking about tarot, we just can go on and on and on because people that love tarot, we just feel intensely passionate. And Erin started a page, an Instagram page called the Tarot Witch.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So
Romance tarot witch.
that's so amazing. So I'm curious, how did you fall in love with the tarot?
So I got my first reading like 5 years ago by a friend who was just doing it casual. They had a little book and they had their tarot cards and they were like, "Oh, do you want to have a reading?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I've never really had one of these before, but I kind of want to. I'm like curious about it." And so she would like pull out the cards and then she would like go get the book and read exactly what the book said, and it would be like super relevant to what I was going through. And I was like, I need to do this. This is so valuable. And so I went and got my first deck. It took me a few months to kind of get the hang of it. I was like doing my readings, and then I started doing readings for other people. And then my friends started asking me for readings even more. And then I just one day decided to make the Instagram, not thinking anything of it. I was in quarantine. It was the beginning of quarantine, so I was just like, I don't know. I want to make some money and I also want to connect with people because I'm lonely. I was super lonely during quarantine. My day-to-day job as being a hairdresser, I would talk to people like all day, every day, and I was really missing that. So I created the tarot page, met all these really awesome, wonderful people, and it kind of just went from there. And now it's its own little monster, living and
That's
breathing and walking around. So yeah.
that's beautiful. That's so cool. And what's your favorite deck? Like, if you could signal your favorite
My
baby
favorite,
right now.
yeah. So my favorite deck right now is the Sinking Wasteland Tarot. This is the first deck that I spent like a good amount of like chunk of change on.
Uh-huh.
It's beautiful. I like it is because it has a lot of diversity in it with all different kinds of colors and body types. And it has like homosexual relationships and it's just really, really diverse. And I don't get to see a lot of tarot decks that are like super diverse, but just to kind of see
Uh-huh.
some
It's beautiful.
here. They're
That's
just, I don't know, and it's kind of dark and a little whimsical, just like me.
I love
I'm
it.
a little dark and I'm a little whimsical.
Wow. Wow. That's
But yeah, so
amazing.
this is my baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely my go-to deck for everything.
And Does it
What about
happen to
yours?
you? Does it happen to you that your favorite tarot, you don't really share it for readings? Like at least my favorite tarot, I rarely ever share it. It's like, I mean, I share it with friends, but it's like for business.
I don't really use this tarot deck for other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's your deck, your baby. For me, it's the Checoli tarot. I love it because
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
very rare that I would use this deck.
yeah, that's the same thing that I do. But this is what I love about this deck is that it's like sweet dolls, but they are also very dark and very intense. So they have like these flavors of sweetness and innocence, and also they can be very dark and very intense. Like there's this sense of
They're
joy.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's so sweet, and the cards speak so much to me. You know, when you just see it, and there are so many messages coming from every image.
I love decks like that. It has like a really like strong resonance to it.
Yeah, yeah, those are my, I mean, it's like a special connection. I have always thought that there are decks that can be, you know, like the most famous ones, like the Tot deck, but you just don't feel the connection. You just don't feel the, like it speaks that much. And there are some decks that might be less famous, but you just feel that it's speaking to you, like singing almost to you.
Yeah, I have a lot of decks like that. I work with tarot cards, but I also work with a lot of oracle decks. So this one, for example, is called the Phoenix Healing deck.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Ah,
I forget the person who makes it. It's like lifewithyoualways.com, but I don't know her first name, but she makes these really, really amazing decks. And it'll tell you like what you're going through. Like this
mm,
one says exhausted. I have no energy to go on.
yeah.
And we have like dreams. I wish my dreams were true. When I work with clients and stuff and I'm looking for blockages, I usually use this deck to figure out what's blocking them from the thing that they're trying to get. And it works like so well. It works so
That's amazing.
well.
And
Yeah.
it's like people get in to get a tarot reading because they want to know if the person that they love is going to go back to them or whatever. But what would you tell them that they could find in a tarot reading beyond these basic and very normal, and they are very valid and important questions, but like if you could tell them that there is more to it, what would you tell them?
So when I get clients and people who ask about reconciliation or like, we get distracted sometimes by like the physical and like the thing, the problems that are right in front of us. So a lot of people will ask, okay, when is this person going to contact me? And I do readings where I just do like those basic questions, but I also offer this deep dive reading that goes into the guidance and into the lesson behind it, because I believe that everything that you go through has a deeper meaning and a different lesson, and it has nuggets of wisdom that if you learn them, you don't have to go through those same types of triggers
Yeah,
anymore. So when what I would say to someone who wanted to book a reading like that, I would say like it's really great to want to know when someone's going to come back in your life, and I can totally understand and have compassion for wanting to be able to have closure in any situation. However, everything that does happen to you has a nugget of wisdom in it that will change your whole life. And just allowing the cards to tell you that, and you really understanding like the transmission of it and really embodying that wisdom is going to be the thing that changes your whole life. It might just be a few cards, but those nuggets of wisdom can change your whole life. So if I had to choose between, finding out if my boyfriend or my ex-boyfriend was going to text me back and that nugget of wisdom that could be life changing, or I can get them both, I'd rather have them both,
yeah,
because one of those things is going to be really, really do on the long run. And it'll also stop you from, for a lot of people, when I do these readings, there's a lot of like I end up in these situations where I'm like in a relationship with someone and then they ghost me. Like, and I'm like, don't you want to know why that happens?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's the deeper thing.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
look for
think
me
that is
because
so important that people can't see the bigger message, the bigger picture, and I think that's what the tarot brings forth. It brings this bigger message. Like, has it happened to you that you get these cards that start just following the person, that it's like, okay, you might be asking this, but the tarot really wants you to know this thing.
yeah, I've had that happen quite a few times. Honestly, the way that I like to explain tarot to people who haven't done it before is that tarot is kind of like I am creating a nice space for your intuition and your higher self to tell you what you need to know. And if
Yeah.
your higher self says that, you know, you need to worry about this and like that boy or that person is not of main concern, what's really of concern is this thing over here, then, you know, that's how I look at it. Because
Yeah.
I think some people, they'll think, I'm giving the reading, so the wisdom is coming from me.
Mhm.
Like Aaron is telling me these things, and it's not me. It's your higher self. Your higher self is going, "Oh man, I'm glad that we got rid of all this baggage here, so we can have a conversation, just me and you, so we can talk about what we're about to do. Okay, we need to talk about what's happening here." That's really like how I see it, and that's how I try to explain it to my clients. You know, because your higher self might decide that that job is not what's important. It's this thing over here what's important.
Totally agree. It's like, that's why at the end they are always like, I kind of knew. This is so validating because I kind of knew this. I kind
Yeah,
of
I kind of
felt
knew this.
this. So yeah, it's just their own inner wisdom. That's
Yeah.
why I say as well, it's like the tarot, it's just a translator of the universal language of the higher self, or the subconscious that wants to speak up, that wants to say something that you need to hear clearly and loudly. And it's just like this translator, and it's a conversation where there is a translator
Mhm.
that is catching the energies in the air.
Yeah, no, that's definitely how I feel about it. And I think that's what makes it so mystical and cool because, you know, you never, when I do a tarot reading, it's not anything that someone didn't already know. It's more about just getting that validation and, you know, kind of like, it's very rare that I get a client that's like, wow, that's completely different like than what I would have thought.
Yeah.
It's usually, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that makes, yeah, okay, yep, yep. So it's super important,
Yeah.
and it's just fun. I love giving readings to people because I just like being able to just help them have dialogues with their higher self. That's what I feel like my job is, to help you have dialogue with your higher self.
Absolutely. And unless it is something very important that's going to happen, like that it's like in their contract, right? Like for me at least, I barely ever give like predictive readings. I
Hmm.
try to focus more on the energy around the people. Like, why are you choosing this? What's this teaching you? But there are some times when there are situations that are so relevant that they just keep jumping in, like, okay, this situation is going to take place, just be ready. And then they come back into the reading, and then they come back. It's like the card just keeps returning as a way of saying, yeah, but this matters, this is important, the person needs to know this.
No, I 100% agree with that. I do predictive readings depending on like what it is. You know, just because I think it's good. Like I did a reading for someone actually that was most of the year. Like I pulled cards for each month,
Uh-huh.
and it was so crazy to have that person come back to me and be like, "Do you believe what happened in March? Do you believe what happened in May and in June?" Like, oh my goodness. Because I do think it could be good like that, but I definitely think that the best way to use tarot is to get that higher lesson and to get that higher wisdom. That is the best use of any intuitive reading or cartomancy in general, which is just using cards to do any kind of divination work, is to get that lesson, which I think is the more important thing.
Yeah.
But you can use it for other stuff, and it could be kind of fun. It can also like spill the tea a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that aspect of like kind of secret like little meetings that you're having with the cards. It's just something I really love. Like I just
Yeah.
love all things like
What about the tarot
card reading.
humor? When it gets funny, have you ever has it ever happened to you that it gets like, are you kidding?
I have had my deck get sarcastic with me. I have had my deck get sassy with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's mostly with myself. With my clients, it's not as bad. Like usually my decks are a lot nicer to my clients, but again, I don't use this deck with my clients. I use it
Yeah.
on me. And
Yeah.
this deck has its own like personality. Like I do this deck when I'm trying to like get to know what's actually going on with with no holds barred, no pulling. Deck does not pull. It's very like, yeah, you shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have did that. I don't even know why you asking me this dumbass question. Next.
Yeah.
So tarot gets really, really funny sometimes.
Yes, so much. That's what I love the most, when it starts getting like repetitive in a funny way, like sassy. I love that expression, because yeah, that's how
Very
it feels.
sassy.
Yeah.
I had a reading with someone who was asking about whether or not they should like be in a relationship with this person and if they were going to come back. So I did the reading and stuff, and I started like pulling out the cards, and the first card was no, and then the second card was think it through, and then the third card was a no, and then the fourth card was a no, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to say that this is a no. Like I'm gonna have to like I feel like this is a hard no. And then I looked at the back of the deck, and it was like I had like my tarot deck and my oracle deck. I looked at the back of my deck, and it was like the devil, and I'm like, it's
Yeah.
never ending.
Yeah.
Uh, so I've definitely had those. I've had those moments. I've had the moment where I pulled like the Tower and the Three of Swords and the deck. Yeah, it's a no on that. I'm sorry. It's just not happening.
Yeah,
I love your great.
yeah, totally. I remember once I was asking about something, and the card that came was the Four of Swords, like, you need to take a break. I was like, no, but I will take a break, but after I'm done with this issue. And I took another card, and it was again the Four of Swords. It was okay. I will take a break, I promise. That evening, I got up to do something, and I fell down and I broke my foot. And I was like, were you kidding me? And then I took my tarot, and there was the Four of Swords. I was like, okay.
Ah! Oh man, no, I've definitely had that happen. It's like still haven't learned your lesson, huh?
Yeah. Like, okay, I can be nice or I can be tough, okay? Then we'll be tough. And it was just so funny to see the card afterwards, because I mean, if you guys don't know what this card means, this is literally a person recovering from from an illness. It's like
Mm-hmm.
resting. It can mean meditation or rest or just taking a break, but it's usually just healing, just like taking a moment to heal, to recover. So it's like literal in my case.
No, I've definitely had things like that happen. I asked the deck one time if I should be like, but even when I went to have my Instagram, like I asked my deck if I should have the Instagram, and it was like, yeah, and I was like, well, I'm like scared, so I'm gonna pull another card and see what that card says, and if that says that it's a bad idea, and it's like, no, no, we're still telling you that you should do this, and I was like, okay, well, let me get another clarifier then. And then you hit like the never ending clarifiers. That's another one
Uh-huh.
that I've seen like happen. Like, let me pull another card. Let me pull another card. Okay, let me just like pull one more card and just be extra sure that what you're saying is actually what I need to hear. And it's like, no, no, it's still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you have like 20 clarifiers.
I think for
Yeah.
one card, like, or I've had my deck get savvy, ask it the same like for a week, and it just starts like giving me the full card. I've had that happen. My deck has given me the full card like over and over again if I ask a question too much. It'll literally just be like, you dumb, you're a fool. Like, stop asking me this. I already told you the first time.
Yeah.
Which
Or
that's not usually what that card means, but like I knew what it meant when I saw it, when I kept
yeah.
asking that same question over and over again. Usually the fool is about, starting a new venture, starting over, and in reverse it could mean like being low too reckless. But in this particular case where I kept asking the same question, like, no, I already answered this, leave me alone.
Mhm.
Do what I said the first time.
Yeah. Or
So
like when you do multiple decks for one reading and you get the same card.
oh yeah.
Like, okay, no, this can't be.
Mhm.
And then you take the other deck and it's the same card. And it's another deck, the same card.
Yep. I've had that happen to me, or like at least like the text of messages, and it's just like, okay. I don't have this happen with so much with clients, because usually like they just take the reading that I give. But with myself, when I was like really just starting to do tarot for myself, and I thought that I was like, well, if I just keep asking the deck, it'll tell me what I want to hear. It's like, nope, no, it won't. No, no, it will not. It'll tell you exactly what I said the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a thing. And like also learn, you gotta learn to listen and just take the answer. Do you find that doing a smaller spread is more useful than doing a bigger spread sometimes?
Yeah. I try to keep my spreads very simple because otherwise I get too like it's too complicated. So I try to keep it simple, like from 3 to 9 cards. And then again
Mhm.
another 3 to 9 cards, because otherwise I can get like 20 cards in one spread and it starts getting like too redundant.
Yeah, and like muddy. That was a learning curve for me, where I used to think that I needed to pull out 9, 10 cards for every one question. And sometimes like one card per question will answer the question.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the time it will.
Yeah.
So that was like a big learning curve for me. Like sometimes less is actually more.
Yeah, that's so true. Especially when you do this just one card reading. There's so much power in one card because there's a huge message in there. I always say that it's like a whole story being told in that one card.
It is. That is something that I definitely will agree with. I kind of learned how to memorize the cards by looking at it from like a story perspective.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. So there's so much information that could be packed in one little card, and it could change depending on how you're asking, what you're asking, and the other cards that are around it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And also that what you said, asking how the depth of the reading depends so much of the depth of the question. Have you found that?
I have found that. Super literal questions can be a little rough when trying to get an answer. So like if you say like, when will I get a job? Like that's, the cards might be like, well, you'll get a job when you learn this really deep metaphysical lesson. And like sometimes people are not listening for that. So I find it a little bit easier to answer questions that are concise but open-ended. Like, what are some things that I can do to create the career of my dreams is a much better question than when am I going to get a job.
Totally,
Well,
totally. Yeah, yeah, and the message becomes a real life lesson in there. That's where you can really see, because it's like, okay, when, soon or not soon, eventually, but when, or in 2 months, whatever, but when you really go deep into the life lesson that it's being offered, the learning can be so powerful. It's like it teaches you, even when you know it somehow, because it's your wisdom, your inner wisdom, there is always like this sense that the tarot brings to the table. Like it just makes sense to something that otherwise would have been just little snips of little pieces of something.
yeah, to me it's like really similar to coaching in the fact that like in tarot or in coaching or in anything where you're trying to get other people to rely on their own wisdom, it's your job as the facilitator to create a safe place for that person to be able to trust their own intuition. One of the things that I do is I have like this little empowering question deck. So every time I do a one-to-one talking session, I will start off the session with one's intelligence. And the reason why I do that is because it helps people drop into that sense of like, okay, now I'm thinking deeply about what is going on in my life. And I found that it made the readings like, it's not that the readings weren't accurate before, but they make them a lot more. It's like opening up a door and allowing people to walk through it on their own instead of trying to get them to just get the wisdom. Like when you already have them thinking about a really reflective, meditative question, they're kind of already walking through that door. So when you start talking about those lessons and higher concepts, when you're pulling out the cards, they're a lot more ready to hear it than they would be if they weren't thinking about it in the first place, which is what I found.
Totally, I love it, and I love this beautiful combination that you have created, coaching and tarot as a package that people actually can get to you and work through their issues with relationships, with the tarot and coaching together. That's so important and so powerful.
Yeah, I think it's really, really cool. And I think that, like, once again, I don't find them to be too off. Like just like with coaching, like I said, the whole point of me coaching someone is to get them to be in that safe enough space so that they can essentially heal themselves. So the whole point of me like putting out a tarot card is to get someone to be safe enough for them to hear the wisdom of their own higher self. So
Yeah.
it's just facilitating safe places and facilitating a space in which someone can be reflective, heal, and take deeper messages. So it when I first thought about offering coaching to the audience, at first I was like, oh, this is not going to work because it has nothing to do with anything. And I realized there's so much in tarot and coaching that it's very easily translatable because it's really just facilitating facilitating that safe place so that people can get that wisdom, whether it's the wisdom of their body by having them drop into their body or the wisdom of their higher self. It's still wisdom.
Yeah, totally, totally. That's so beautiful, and I'm sure that people get so much from these sessions. Um, I would love to hear more about your decks, like, and to share also my decks. Like, what's the deck that you use the most with your clients?
The truth deck. It's actually not a tarot deck, it's an oracle deck. It has 100 cards.
Uh-huh.
It looks like this. It has an eyeball on the back.
Wow.
And it has very simple clear-cut messages that cannot be denied. That's why I like this deck, because
Wow.
you can ask this deck pretty much anything. You know, I can say like, what should I do today or something like that. And this one just says yes, which I think is so funny. It's like, you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing today. You're doing a good job. It's like,
I
yes.
love it. Yes.
Yes, you are. But it has like these really short messages. It's hostility, summer, thinking. And so I use this deck as a way to enhance my tarot card readings, and also I can use it as a standalone deck, because it also has like more spiritual cards in here. It'll say like healing or chakra balance or anything like that. So it's such an easy deck to use, and you don't need a book with it or to memorize anything. It's very straight to the point, and it's very fun to use with my clients, because my clients, especially who don't believe, or who are very new, who don't think that this works, you may look at the tarot deck and be like, I mean, you could be making up what that meant, which
Mhm.
we know that that's not true, but the client doesn't always know that. If I pull something from this deck, you're not like, you read what it says, just like I read what it said. Like, what that said. That thing said no, it said no. Like, that's not that's not something that I'm making up. So I really like that this deck, for that. And then my second type of deck that I like are channeled messages decks. People like to ask me, um, you know, what someone's thinking about them or something like that, or what someone's like planning to do. And I've actually found decks that will tap into that energy and work really, really good for that. So like this one is about relationships. So I use it in like romantic relationships. Asking about their partner. It'll say, this one says, I fear you're going to find someone better if I don't get it together soon, right? So I can kind of indicate that that person might feel a lot of insecurity in that relationship. 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what's going on. So these are like the channeled messages deck. And then another way to use it is to actually channel from that person's higher self and just read the sentences to them, which is
Wow.
another way to do it. So yeah, those are definitely my favorite decks. Other than just the tarot cards that I use, they're just really, yeah, they're just really cool. And it's one of those things where it's just like, when you put the spreads together, like the message cannot be denied. It just is what it is. Like it
Yeah.
makes it very simple. And then I will like, tarot is always the uh, core of it. These extra decks help to really ground the reading into levels that make it really, really understandable for my clients, which I love.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I am not like that skilled with oracle cards. I have a couple, yeah, like a couple of decks that are
Mm-hmm.
oracle, but I never got like very familiar with them. It's just like, except for one that it's like it's do I have it here? It's like the angel cards.
Oh, is it Angel Answers?
Yeah, but these
Is it
ones are,
Angel Answers? Because Angel Answers is amazing.
I think that this is not that famous. It's here. Because it's and it's more like for Latin America. Let me see. So this is it. So you get like one message from an angel here,
Oh, it's beautiful.
and you get one whole message in here. So the thing is that there are two
Oh,
different
that's neat.
the deck has two different cards, the
Mm-hmm.
red and the white ones, and each one has when you read it, you just get one angel and one message, so they complete each other. So
Okay.
they can say so much, because it's like, I am the angel that comes to hug you really tight. Being in my arms, nothing can harm you. Can you feel the peace and protection that I'm giving you right now? From this moment on,
Mm.
you're starting to live with courage and decision. So
Oh,
it's,
that's gorgeous. I love that.
yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so so beautiful. But it's in Spanish, but it's like it's maybe one of my favorite decks. It's the one oracle that I use, and it's just like this combination can be so playful.
Yeah, no, I think you can get so much just from using a tarot deck. Like, if I wanted to do readings for people and literally just only use a tarot deck and nothing else, you can totally do that and never touch another deck. I think that's the beauty of tarot decks. It covers every subject, everything, career, love, sex,
Yeah,
money, self-development, all of that stuff. It covers everything. But I'm kind of a collector,
me too.
I just get I just get decks because they're so pretty and they call to me. Like, this ice cream deck is so cute. It
Yeah,
has
I
40
so
little
want to
oracle cards
see.
in it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you a few.
So
So
many
this one
beautiful
says
ideas. Wow. Uh-huh.
lemon deck, and it says clean, detoxifying, and release.
Wow.
And then this one says banana walnut. It says cracking codes, learning and observing. The banana
Wow.
walnut. And then yeah, rocky road, adventure, preparation, and challenge.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a rocky road, you gotta know. I just love them. They're so cute. How do you? I
Yeah.
think they're adorable. Pistachio, emotional healing, independence, and responsibility.
Wow.
So it's very like, I like little decks like this. They enhance my readings. I love to use it in beside my tarot deck when I'm trying to get answers about something. Sometimes if I just want to, like, if I get a card like the Tower, for example, I like to pull out one of these cards to figure out really. So, like, you get the Tower, especially something shocking and really intense is about to happen or has happened. What subject matter is that about? I'll pull out one of these little clarifier decks and it'll be like, okay, you know, um, white chocolate raspberry, sensibility and elegance. So maybe, like, in this particular situation, you had a Tower moment about the way you feel about yourself. Elegance is something that you portray to other people. So maybe you have a broken down in a sense of self and the way you feel about yourself. So that's kind of like how I use those other decks and, like, incorporate them into my reading to just kind of like enhance them and make them a little bit more fun and colorful, because, like, I take pictures of a lot of my readings and I like them to look good too.
Right? They are just so beautiful and powerful. Sometimes like just using them as a um, like a mandala. You just having that energy because there is also a lot of tarot magic and a lot of symbols. I know that you also work with sigils, right? Like
Sigils. Yep.
sigils. Yeah.
hmm I do. I really enjoy chaos magic, which is where sigils kind of like, I mean, sigils have been around since like
Uh-huh.
millennia, millennial, millennia.
Uh-huh.
They've been around for so long, and marketing people use it. If you think of the McDonald's M, that's kind of like a sigil, because you might see that M and you think, oh, I'm going to get a little hungry, right? It's a symbol that is invoking a particular feeling or a particular thing to happen. You see the McDonald's M and you want to go get food,
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the same idea. So for me, I work with sigils to kind of enhance my life. I also like sigils because they're usually a particular feeling or a particular, like, all around thing.
Right.
Whereas in other types of magic, you have to be very, very specific. With sigils, you can be like, I am abundant, and you can make a sigil based off of that. And you're not really knowing where the money's going to come from or how it's going to get there, but as a baseline, you are abundant. And I
Yeah.
find that to be really helpful, and it's been really helpful for me in general. So yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I have a little anecdote. When I was learning, I have never worked with sigils. I am interested, but have never worked with them. But I work with runes. So many years ago, when I started working
Mm,
more with runes, I was like, oh, look, this is the rune of abundance. So I drew it in my wall and I did like a ritual to activate the rune. And I was so happy because I had activated the rune of abundance. Little did I know
Yeah.
that that rune was actually the rune of motherhood. That yes, it means abundance, but in the sense of, the earth, like the empress. It's pretty
Oh,
much the card of the empress, right? So it's like
okay.
so I was pregnant that year.
Oh my Oh shoot. Magic mishap.
Yeah.
That stuff happens. Yeah, that's true. I did a spell like before my tarot account saying that I really wanted like I think I wanted 400 followers at the time. I had like 300 followers on my sex love and relationship coach one. And I was like, I just really want 300 followers. I did not specify which account I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
So I started my tarot account not thinking anything of it, and I hit those 400 followers, and I was like, oh, I should have been more specific.
Yeah.
So that kind of can happen too. So
Yeah.
I totally can understand that. Um, but yeah, language is important. Language
Yeah.
is important
And
when it
using
comes
the
to these
right
things.
symbol, right? Like that's where I learned. Many years later, somebody came with a candle with the Vercana rune, which is the one I use. It took me years to figure out that this rune, because some runes have like an equivalent in the tarot. So it's like, yeah, this rune is the rune of the Empress. I wouldn't use the card of the Empress to summon abundance because
Mm-mm.
that's more like
Maybe
the
the King of Pentacles.
exactly. So it's like I had to learn it the the hard way. I mean, and being a mom is the best thing ever, and I love my children, but I always laugh at that. It's like
That's really funny. I totally understand that. That's kind of hilarious. But yeah, you,
yeah.
you gotta be careful. Sigil that you kind of you're on the spot for the meeting that you're trying to do. It's not like something that already has a set meaning. You would take a statement and then while you're meditating on it and drawing it, you're creating that thing. Like so, it kind of goes based off of like what it means to you,
Mhm.
which is really, really cool. Where sometimes you can use but if you use other people's sigils, that could be very different. Because, again, if I use somebody else's sigil and they're talking about the abundance of having babies, and I decided that I was going to put that somewhere, then I might be pregnant. And that's not what I was trying to do. Like, so I'm going to like pick something else or like make my own sigil and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta be careful with your the statements for sure. That's funny though.
totally. Thank you so much for this conversation. It has been so amazing to have you here and to just speak about magic and tarot and coaching with you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for having me too, and getting to geek out with me about cards. 'Cause I don't get to geek out about this kind of stuff very often, but when I do, it's like so good.
Right.
So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sasha.
Thank you so much. And guys, please check out Erin's page, the tarot page, and also, do you still have the coaching Instagram on?
I
Or
do, but I do most of my like announcements through my tarot page, even about like coaching. But you can still do both. There's still some like lots of posts on the other one that are very, very useful.
beautiful. So I will just add the link in the comments so that people can contact you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having me and sharing energy with me. And yeah, I love it. So thanks.
Thank you.